All right, so I got my bicycles tuned up. It's my backup system. My bicycles are my backup system. If my car breaks down, I can take the bus to work. You always need a backup system. If you can't read the Bible on your phone, you got to have one that you can hold in your hand. You always have to have a backup system. Somebody feeds you a bunch of malarkey, you don't put a whole lot of confidence in it. You got to have a backup plan, This is not a game out here. This is not a game. You got to try the spirits, The Bible says to try the spirits. And it's not a joke. If you test a bridge, when you build a bridge, you test it before you drive over, right? Everything that you do, you've got to have a backup plan, Let's say you use a credit card for your business, you got a backup. Let's say you're out in the middle of nowhere and you need gas, you got to have a backup plan, A backup card. Everything that you do in life, whatever you're facing off with down here in 3D is going to let you down eventually. It's going to let you down. Even your spouse is going to let you down. I've seen it too many times. People talk a big talk, but they never follow through. A job, a coworker, a boss, an employee, people will let you down. Not that they necessarily want to or mean to, but it does happen. A church, a system, a government, a lot of stuff's going to let you down in life. You got to be ready. And once you go through it enough, you're like, okay, you expect it and you're prepared, I'm going to start getting up really early and do before it gets 90 degrees, do my bike rides early in the morning. And if I'm not doing bike rides, I'm going to be doing ride share, create a pattern. There's a temptation. I don't have a TV, but I could see there's a temptation just to turn the TV on. And it's like, I just couldn't do it. I don't know how. It's a strong pull, and I understand where people just want that noise and turn the TV on. But it's just, you're being programmed. The TV is programming you, You're being programmed. Even your own thoughts from your bloodline or somebody, if somebody's talking to you, you have to think about what program they're running on. Are they running on a biblical program or a world program or their self? When you're in communication with somebody, what program are they running on? Is it manipulation, witchcraft, self? Is it biblical? Is it selfish? Is it unselfish? What kind of program are they running on? You have to ask yourself that. You really do. Because if you don't ask yourself that question, if a TV's programming you and music is programming you, what about that legalistic preacher is programming you? What about that Pentecostal emotional preacher's program? What about that Methodist methodology? Method. You got legalism, emotionalism, and traditionalism. Now, sometimes tradition is not bad, and sometimes emotion. But legalism is always bad, because that is the Jezebel spirit. What program are people running on? That's the question of the hour. Are they running on fear? Are they running on insecurities? Are they running on doubt? Are they running on manipulation, witchcraft, sorcery, antichrist? What program is coming out of their mouth? Is it the world, the flesh, the pride of life? Is it living in the past? Is it trying to throw fear darts on you? Is it trying to throw guilt, shame, condemnation? What kind of program are they trying to throw at you and program you to think like? And those people who are trying to program you, who do they think they are? Do they think they're God? Or gods or goddesses? I don't talk to many people. I really don't talk to hardly anybody unless it's text or email. I've got a few phone calls every once in a while, but I don't really talk to many people. Because after I talk to them long enough, I realize most of them are running on a program, selfish program, or trying to get you to bend your will to their will or something like that. Instead of doing God's will, they're not asking what God's will is. They're asking what their will is. They're not seeking God's will, they're seeking their will. Seriously. And when you break it down, is this God's will? No. Then why is this person trying to get me outside of God's will? Who are they? Is it a coworker asking you to go out to the bar and drink a beer? Is that God's will? No, it's not God's will. Number one is fraternization. Number two, whoredom, wine, and new wine take away the heart. What is God's will? Do God's will. Period. If somebody doesn't want you to do God's will, are they not your enemy? Because in God's will, you're protected. In their will, you're not. They're just trying to use you to protect them because they're outside of God's will, so they need somebody for God to judge you instead of judging them. Can I get a witness on that one? Can anybody hear what I just said? Ronald.
Alright, and we're gonna get started for you today.
Number one, add bacon, large tea, half and half, sweet unsweet.
You said the Chick-fil-A sandwich, add bacon, medium fries, and a large sweet tea, or
Half and half, sweet unsweet. Sweet unsweet.
Anything else for today?
That's it.
Total is $10.90.
Okay. There you go.
Alright, you're all set.
Have a go. If you believe the Bible, you're going to be protected. And I don't care how good of a talker they are. I don't care how lonely it gets. I don't care how boring it gets. If you do God's will, you're going to be protected. If you step out of God's will, you're not protected. You're actually, think about what I'm trying to tell you. So you want to do God's will. You get this other person over here trying to act like they're friendly or whatever. They're trying to pull you out of God's will. Why? If somebody's trying to pull you out of God's will, they want to be God in your life. That's how you catch the narcissist, the psychopath, the sociopath, the Jezebel, the Delilah. They want to pull you out of God's will. You worship God. You follow God. They want to pull you out of God's will. So what does that mean? They want to take you away from God, put you under their will or the devil's will, the world, the flesh, pride of life, and you become a middleman between God's judgment on them, and God has to hit you first to move you out of the way and then judge them. And then they'll pull somebody else in to take the judgment, and they think they're getting by. You reap what you sow. And so they keep putting people in front of their judgment, and eventually there's nobody left. And they get hit. Parents do it with their children. Children do it with their parents. Boyfriends and girlfriends do it with each other. They're trying to avoid the judgment of God by bringing a third party out of God's will into their will to block the judgment of God. Think about what I'm trying to tell you. How come you never heard a preacher talk about this? Because a lot of the churches are doing the same thing. They want you in there tithing and stressing, just like a corporation. They want you stressing so they can get rich. But God still can judge them. God judges everybody. He looks at the heart. A lot of the ways He's going to judge them is their pride. More pride and more pride and more pride and more pride. More entitlement, and eventually they destroy themselves, you know. They destroy themselves eventually. I'm just thinking about some people across the street. They're going out to party tonight. I could see some transactions going on. It's like, these people are stupid. You really think that's fun? They spend their whole life just seeking fun, going to the clubs, drinking, drug, and all that. And they never look for any truth. They're never doing any introspection, and they're never growing. And they think that they're going somewhere, and their mind is becoming more corrupt and more corrupt and more corrupt and more corrupt. And you're like, no wonder nobody can rightly divide the word of truth. No wonder nobody knows what dispensation they're in. They're still in the dispensation of law. And if you're in law, you're Wally Cody. But if you're in if you take grace and spit on that and throw it to the side, because you think, well, I'm under grace, I can just do whatever. Then they're messed up in that way too. Yeah, it's all grace. But when you step into real grace, real love, real truth, you love your neighbors yourself. You don't want to do wrong towards anybody or harm anybody. And a lot of times they come at you to try to provoke you, to pull you down into that realm. When you step back into the spirit walk, you're really stepping into a realm they don't even understand. I went to that drive-thru and got me a large half and half, and they gave me a medium every time. I said, I got it on video. And she just changed it. I said, it happens every time, and it's sad. And I feel sorry for them because they're out there in the weather and the strangers pulling up. I know they're probably nervous, you know. What's weird is they got the females out there now working in the weather and out at the cars. You don't see the males out there. It's weird. When it's hot, when it's cold, 90 degrees, 30 degrees, 20 degrees, you see the women out there working. Wild stuff. So after that bike wreck, it took me about 2 weeks to heal my ribs, you know. And so now I've adjusted the brakes and added some air in the tire, and I feel better. Popped my back in place. I seem to go through that a lot. I'm trying to build those muscles up. So if you build your muscles up, it'll keep everything tight, you know. And so I bought me a barbell to lift weights, and I'm getting ready to get back onto that. Lift weights, push-ups, bicycle riding, beans and rice for 30 days, save some money, maybe for 60 days. If I eat beans and rice for 60 days, I can save $1,200. Instead of going out to eat, stuff like that. That is the wildest looking thing I've ever seen. I don't even know why anybody would want one. Do they really use it for work? What's it used for? To pass all the laws, a vehicle manufacturer, that's got to be a job. I guess it's time to write a book. Got to set some new goals. Anyway, if you're under the dispensation of law, you're under legalism, you're under works, you're under the wrong era. If the priesthood has changed, it's necessary that the law would change. So we went from law to grace. We went from the priesthood of Aaron to the priesthood of Melchizedek. So the priesthood of Melchizedek is an never-ending, an everlasting priesthood. Never ending, everlasting. And so that priesthood represents grace, the age of grace. And that grace is everything. When you receive the grace of God by faith, receive Jesus into your heart by faith, you receive the grace of God. And God has got your back. You know, a person says, well, I got your back. Well, God's got my back. I appreciate you saying it, but usually people let you down. They don't really have your back because a human put no confidence in chariots and horses or in mankind, because really man will let you down, but God has your back, you know. Man is really the problem in this equation. Mankind is the problem in this equation. For real. I'm gonna sit here and eat my sandwich and see what's going on in the neighborhood, because it looks like we got a lot of stuff going on.